I'm Ukrainian, and there are many Ukrainians around the world, in addition to several other cultures, people whose faith comes from the Eastern Rite, from Constantinople, from Byzantium, or who follow the Julian calendar, who would have celebrated Christmas this last week, on January 6th and 7th. You're shaking your head?
Apparently they've gone back to December 24th.
Oh.
Because of the war?
Yes.
That's what I've heard.
Yes, but there are still many Ukrainians around the world that will observe, because war or no war, like, tradition is tradition, faith is faith, and I have been celebrating Christmas on January 6th and 7th since birth. So to me, I'm not letting the conventional relative world dictate how I'm going to show up and observe my traditions. I totally get why some people would switch, but for me and my family, we still celebrate on January 6th and 7th. So on January 6th, which is Christmas Eve, we went to my sister's, and then on January 7th, which happened to be a Wednesday, an Elevate Day, Glenn and I were not here because we were at our house with just a handful of our closest friends celebrating Christmas Eve dinner, our Christmas dinner. And one of the things that we have on our table for this traditional 12-course meal is we have an empty place setting. And my entire life, my understanding of this empty place setting was that it symbolizes two things. One, all of the people and all of the ancestors that are not able to attend. So whether it is because they are no longer part of this realm, or they're just not able to be present for whatever reason, this empty place setting symbolizes their presence at our table. It's also something that there would be a candle lit by it, and it would be sort of this symbol of welcoming and invitation should anyone happen to be passing by and maybe they didn't have somewhere that they could go on Christmas Eve. They were welcome at our table. Now, here's the cool thing. I went to church with my mom for the first time since I moved here 9.5 years ago. We went to the Ukrainian Catholic Church on December 25th for the Divine Liturgy that they had in the morning. And I gotta tell you, being in a Ukrainian Catholic Church and hearing the music during a Divine Liturgy still gives me goosebumps on every level of my being. And the singing was beautiful. I was a little curious about the fact that not a lot of the congregation would sing because it was such a huge part of our going to church when I was growing up, but my mom and I sang. And it was beautiful. And what was really cool was I really enjoyed the priest that they had there. He was just so personable and so wonderful and smart and everything, and I listened to his whole talk and I was making notes on my phone because I didn't have my little book. He did it all in Ukrainian, and I'm writing all these notes, and I said to my mom, I'm writing notes, I'm not texting people, okay? I am here, I am present here. And then he did it all in English again, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I could have just listened in English. But anyway, I got it all in Ukrainian. And he was talking to people about the 12-course meal. And he said, I don't know how many of you still serve all 12 courses. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, that's even an option? It's tradition to serve 12 courses. Like, that's the thing. What do you mean you pick and choose? But anyway, that's me. And so he said, and I don't know how many of you still serve borscht. And my mom leans over, that's the beet soup, which is dish number 2. My mom leans over to me and she says, you know what? Baba never had borscht at Christmas until she moved to Canada. My grandmother. She always had split pea soup. And I'm like, oh my God. Dish number 8 is a split pea and sauerkraut situation. Maybe we can switch it up this year, which we totally did. So that was kind of cool. But then he started talking about this empty place setting. And he talked about the 2 things that I just mentioned, and then he brought in a 3rd thing, which just cracked my heart open and totally made me just smile, because it's like, this is what we're all about here too. And it was that this empty place setting symbolizes our openness and the opening of our heart to experience God, spirit, source, whatever you want to call it, love, on a deeper level, on a fuller, more experiential level. Ding, 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 right? So the title of my talk today is Setting a Place for God. So I did, in all honesty, take this picture this morning because last night was when I cleaned up everything from our Christmas dinner, and then I realized, oh, I can take a picture of this empty place setting and that can be the slide for, the talk title. So this is the empty place setting that we had, and just 2 little pieces of art that we pulled at Christmas that are from Ukraine. And so I just love this idea of this openness, this opportunity, this invitation, this possibility to just open up to a greater understanding, appreciation of, and experience of God. Because that's why we are here, right? And if we go back to, I don't even know if it was the beginning of last year or after I came back from the Anton, the Affiliated New Thought Network Conference in October of 2024, because I watched online last year, we go back to the 3 things that I came back with, which was God is all there is, consciousness is everything, and we, no one and nothing else, create our reality. And so those 3 things were jumping around in my head today, and I went to my Rupert Spira book, The Heart of Prayer, which I just absolutely love. This is a book that I can open anywhere, and I just need a little paragraph. A little paragraph, just sink into it, and then just let it wash over me, from the inside out kind of thing, and just marinate on what's there in just one little paragraph, sometimes 1 sentence. So in this book, For God is all there is, Rupert Spira writes, there is no aspect of our experience that is not completely saturated with being. If I am depressed, I am present there. If I am in love, I am present there. If I am sick, tired, or lonely, I am present there. If I am meditating, walking, or drinking tea, I am present there. Whatever I am thinking, feeling, sensing, or perceiving, I am present there. This, to me, is so illustrative and so definitive when it comes to expressing God is all there is. It's the great stuff and it's the yucky stuff. It is everything in between and all around. We are the ones who give meaning to stuff, depending on what it is that our worldview is, what our perceptions are, the stories that we have, the stories that we make up around things that aren't even true. But the things themselves are things. The situations are situations. And then we give this meaning, and then we're like, God can't possibly be part of that, or like, that person so-and-so, or that political leader, or that situation across the world. It's all God. And we get to choose how we respond to those situations, to those people, how we show up in response to whatever it is that is going on around us. And so this was also very poignant for me to read today, because yesterday, Glenn and I did our monthly Abundant Good journey, and it was a visioning experience. And I picked something very personal for myself for that visioning experience. And there was a lot of stuff that came up, just like a geyser of darkness that came up for me. And I wasn't really prepared to process and integrate it. And so a bit of a rough morning and early afternoon yesterday, but made it through, worked through, the feelings had their day. And then I met with my mentor, who comes to me through Anton, and I asked her, I had already planned this, that I wanted to do a visioning for myself, for my creative expression. Creative expression specifically that will allow me to feel more joy and fulfillment in my life. I facilitate visionings for other people a lot, and I don't often get to do it for myself. And so what came up in this one, for me, there was a lot of interesting, curious stuff. I'm like, I don't know what this means, but write it down, and sometime, somewhere, it'll start to make sense. But the thing that kept coming up for me was embrace the dark. Embrace the dark, embrace the darkness. And it was so cool was, at the beginning, I would sort of sit there thinking, okay, I'm gonna remember. Because as soon as I opened my eyes, I'd forget. And it was like the light would get in the way of whatever it was that was coming up in the dark for me. And so as I went through this visioning, there just kept being these messages of embrace the dark, lean in to the dark, not just like listen, pay attention, but like lean in, you know, like you have no idea what's in there, but lean in and trust. Just trust and know that whatever I need to know, whatever I need to hear, however I need to be supported, resourced, whatever, it's all available to me all the time. So just lean in and embrace the dark. And so when I read this, if I'm depressed, I am present there. That's what we need to remember. That's what we need to practice. That's what we need to lean into, that no matter how dark, no matter how discombobulating, no matter how whatever the world is feeling or seeming, that there is still that within each and every one of us that is so whole, so pure, so profound, that all of that pales in comparison, all put together a gazillion times over. So God is all there is, and consciousness is everything. And this could be like basic consciousness, which is synonymous with God or love or source or whatever. And then there's like lowercase c consciousness, which is awareness, right? Like we gotta know that this is who and what we are, because if we don't, then we can kind of sometimes, go through life hit and miss. Sometimes we're in the flow and life is great and fantastic and we're feeling all zen and whatever. And then other times, like, how did I get here? We gotta be aware of how powerful and creative we are, right? So consciousness is everything. So Rupert Spira writes, no experience has the capacity to veil our being unless we give it permission to do so, right? Choice, choosing, always, every moment, that's what we're doing, whether we're aware of it or not. So, oh my gosh, let's be aware that we are making choices every single moment. And the more aware we are, the more intentional we can be with those choices. And then the more the life we're experiencing lines up with the life that we want, the more the love we are is what we experience for ourselves, recognize and amplify in everyone and everything around. And that takes me to the third thing, which is so important. The personal responsibility aspect of our life, that we, no one and nothing else, no puppet strings, no separate entity, we create our reality according to how we use our minds, how we open our hearts, the vibration, the frequency that we're choosing to resonate, that we're choosing, whether we're aware or not, to resonate at. Rupert Spira. As soon as we withdraw that permission, the experience which once seemed to veil our being will now shine it. Okay? It's up to us. It is only and always up to us. It may feel like maybe sometimes there are outside or external sources that have some kind of power over us or make it seem like we don't have a choice. We always have a choice, and we are always, always choosing. So it's up to us, like our affirmation for the month, to continually expand into a greater awareness and embodiment of the love that we truly are. So my question to you is, are you setting a place for God? Spirit, source, love, whatever it is that you call it. Emerson wrote that love is the synonym for God. So if love works for you, use love. If energy works for you, use energy, whatever. But are you setting a place for God? Are you open? And if you're open, are you open in your heart wide, right? And what are you willing to embrace? Especially, I didn't even give you this one quote by Carl Jung. Let me give you this quote, okay? Embrace the dark, back to Carl Jung. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The latter procedure, however, is disagreeable and therefore not popular. Okay? So going back to the end now, we get to choose, even when it's disagreeable, even when it feels disagreeable and unpopular, because we're the ones that are going to give that meaning, right? Even when it feels disagreeable or unpopular, AKA hard, we get to make that choice. Because again, that thing that we are in our core, it is bigger and more powerful and resilient and creative than anything we could ever think, believe, or feel than anything we could ever experience. So I invite us all to set a place for God and to be willing to embrace whatever, as disagreeable and unpopular it may seem, in order to more fully embody the love, the God, the consciousness we truly are. Thank you, and so it is.